People.
If you're out there, I could use some help.
What is that?
Question: did those truck drivers survive? Let's find out. The first thing to understand is why car crashes are dangerous. The car just crashes and stops, right? Wrong. Newton's first law of inertia states that objects in motion retain their motion unless acted upon by an external force. The trucks crashed, so they stopped. Since the truck suddenly decelerated due to frictional force, the forces acting on the car were unbalanced. But the wall didn't hit the driver, so they retained their motion. If they don't have a seatbelt or an airbag, they could be gravely injured or killed. That's why all cars today are equipped with seatbelts, crumple zones, and airbags. Except for Volkswagens. But don't worry, normal cars have them. They were first invented by a German inventor named Walter Linder in 1952. According to explain that stuff, even if the seatbelt restrains the body, the head, which is 36 kilos, is very heavy and could hit the windshield. The weight of the head is key, since the heavier something is, the stronger the force that hits the glass. This is because Newton's second law of motion states that force is equal to mass times acceleration. We know that the second law is involved because the forces acting on the head are unbalanced, as mentioned before. While the seatbelt slows down the driver, the airbag brings their acceleration down to zero, according to the BBC. It is a sort of cushion. In order to save the driver, the airbag has to open at a small fraction of time and needs to know exactly when to inflate. There's a crash sensor that opens a valve or inflator, releasing nitrogen gas into the airbag, according to Science IQ. The crash sensor is just a small computer hooked up to an accelerometer and door pressure sensors, which predicts if the crash is in process. The element sodium azide is generally used as the inflator. It is warmed with electricity, releasing nitrogen gas. Heat and oxygen are also released in the process, making it an engineered explosion.
Maurizio, dove vai?
Michele, aspettami lì, che vengo da sola fino da te.
No! No, Bologna!
I guess they needed an airbag. Finally, Newton's third law comes into play. There's little pressure in the airbag, less than 5 psi according to car and driver. As a person's head slams against the airbag with a strong force, an equal and opposite force counters it. This is a perfect demonstration of Newton's third law, and the result is zero net force acting on the head. Newton's laws are very well addressed by all car companies, except for Volkswagen. In the United States, it is estimated up to 63,000 people from 2008 to 2012 were saved by airbags, according to the US Department of Transportation. And companies are constantly testing and retesting to improve the technology. Now that you're convinced airbags are the dark knight of cars, let's look at economic impacts. If 63,000 people had died instead because of the absence of airbags in the US, by today's prices, up to $630 million would have been spent for funeral costs. The average North American spends up to $10,000 to bury their dead. Now, of course, those people would have died anyway, but because of factors such as inflation or deflation, the funeral business may have lost or gained money because of airbags. If funeral homes lose a lot of business and growth, this may negatively impact the economy of the US. However, the families who've saved money will spend it on other goods and services, raising demand and helping the economy. After all, funeral homes probably do not employ as many people or have as many stocks as other businesses do. The NPR found that funeral homes often go bankrupt anyway, since US law guarantees that people who are buried must have their graves well kept forever. Airbags are also an expense to auto manufacturers. Since it is law in the US to include a functional airbag system with specific requirements, many lawsuits have been made against companies who fail to do so. Since 2008, up to 25 million cars have been recalled by auto manufacturers because of this, according to Reuters. For example, last year, a woman sued Honda for millions of dollars because of a dysfunctional airbag. Not to mention that companies have to develop and test airbag technology meticulously, also an expense to them. However, this would have spared them lawsuits from families who did lose people because of an absence of airbags. One last qualitative impact to mention is the price of actual airbags, which on average cost the average consumer about $1,600, according to WOWT RSS. This, of course, is a contribution to the US economy and industry, but is a cost to the average consumer.
Leo, if you're out there, I could use some help.
What is that?
So, all things in airbag physics considered, I can safely say that these two truck drivers will survive thanks to airbag technology. Oh god. Oh. I guess not.
to stay.